All right, everybody, welcome back to the PBL Primetime. It's week 5. Your favorite pod boys are back to ramble on for 20, 30 minutes, however long we feel like rambling. Not that long tonight because Leo's sleeping right now. Hopefully for a little bit longer. We'll see how it goes. Thanks to John for the week 4 pod. Was fantastic, short and sweet. We love it. We miss you, John, every day. But back to the pod here. Little 2-game skid for myself, your humble 3P commissioner. But as I've said before, I'm fine with anywhere between seeds 2 and 7 this year, or 2 and 8 actually. I just don't want to be in the Sacco game, but I'm okay coming anywhere in the middle for this year's standings at least. But Brent is tilting now, I imagine, but made a trade. We got the first trade in the book, so things are going to turn around right here. Brent Lyas, how are we doing?
I'm pacing for that Sacco game right now, 0-4, but still only 2 games out of sixth place. So, I got to look at the positives. Traded off Jalen Hurts today to Winston. Hopefully, that will turn my team around. Uh, I'll be curious to see how Devontae Adams news breaks. I think that will be a big factor on how my team performs second half.
Good trade, good trade. It's still some strong quarterback play to be had there from Anthony Richardson once he stops running into people so much. And Kyler Murray will pick it back up as he go along. Jacobs will be a little bit of a different runner once Love is back in action all the way. And then Adams, of course, is just Devonta Adams. But what's your idea? What's your wish list team for him? And then what's the team that you think he'll go to?
Wish list is definitely the Chiefs. I think easiest target competition is going there. Travis Kelce's older now. He hasn't been the target hog with a healthy Rasheed Rice, and Xavier Worthy's just a burner right now. So that's the ideal spot. Most likely, probably the Jets. The Aaron Rodgers connection. I'd be curious to see how that works with Garrett Wilson. But Wilson's been underperforming all year, so Adams might step in and be the one there, especially coming into that Nathaniel Hackett offense.
Yeah, my Rodgers stock would go up, my Wilson stock would go down. So that would be a back and forth for me. But we'll see how that all ends up. We still got weeks or possibly a month or so to figure that out if it doesn't happen anytime soon. We'll go to our matchups for week 5, though. We'll start off with myself and Los. What are we thinking, Brent?
All right, so I'm going to start with your team. Rogers is a little banged up. You've moved up to Andy Dalton up, which has worked out the last 2 weeks. Dalton's been really good. Stafford in well, I'm expecting to be a high scoring game versus Green Bay. I think that's going to be shootout potential. And then your running back squad is back to full strength. Kamara, the highest scoring player so far through 4 weeks. Ken Walker just came back against the number 1 ranked rush defense and dominated with 30 points. And your wide receivers are slowly sneaking back to fully healthy. Jefferson's been really good, even with Sam Darnold. And Brian Thomas Jr., I think, was the sleeper rookie discount player. Marvin Harrison's been, a little hit or miss. Malik Neighbors is him. He's the best wide receiver in the league right now. Maybe even slightly behind Nico. That's up for debate. But Brian Thomas Jr., he's wide open. Is Trevor Lawrence able to throw him the ball now? And then looking at Carlos's team, he went with the depth option this year: Derrick Henry, Brian Robinson. 2 great running backs. Jaden Reed, now Jordan Love is back. He's dropped 30 plus points in Love's 2 starts this year. I think that trend continues. Darnell Mooney is a surprising flex play this year. For whatever reason, Kirk Cousins doesn't want to force feed Drake London. He's spreading the ball around. So that's an A+ for Mooney. And then he's getting Mixon back this week as well. And Mixon's got an A+ matchup. So I'm going to go with Carlos in the matchup just because he's got, I think, better boom players this week.
Yeah, very happy that I got Ken Walker back. He shows that he is one of the best running backs in the league once he's healthy. Now, if he stays healthy for a long period of time, my running back room will be perfect. That's why I have Kamara and Walker, because I thought they would both be a really good duo going throughout the year. thankfully for Ken Walker, thankfully because of Ken Walker, I was able to score some decent points to keep my point totals up going through the end of week 4, which was nice. That was kind of what you always look for in a loss is to at least score some points to keep yourself straight in the standings.
Yep.
And for you though, the season doesn't end after week 4, so there's plenty of time. Lots of 2-2 teams. There's always struggle right there at the end whenever we get to the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth place, and everybody's around the same type of record, and then the point scoring comes in handy once you get to the playoffs in our league towards the end. But for the rest of my team, of course, like we've said, I'm still missing a couple of key players as far as the wide receivers go. Not too crazy about my QB matchups, over the next couple of weeks. And not crazy about that London game, even though I'm going to be really happy waking up and watching football first thing in the morning.
Those things are normally pretty ugly.
Yeah, it's good to watch football, but football over there, never really that crazy. As far as Los's team goes, of course, I love Derrick Henry. We all know that. I have 0 Derrick Henry shares in any of my fantasy football leagues this year, and I'm really sad about it at this point. And of course, Jaden Reed is the real deal whenever he has Jordan Love under center, which Jordan Love was iffy to start the game versus the Vikings, but kind of made his way back, get more comfortable through the rest of the game. So I could see literally another 30 to 40 point game from Jaden Reed coming up as well because he's just been lights out whenever Jordan Love is on the field. And then Chuba Hubbard is kind of like one of the unsung heroes of his team as well. Just Andy Dalton taking over that team has changed their offense altogether. So I think Chuba's going to have a super good game out there as well versus Chicago this week. But I'm also going to go with Los. I don't think I've ever picked Los in a game that he was playing me. So most likely. But he does have a good team this year, whether it was by his design or not. But
Following the same draft strategy as last year, just going heavy on the position guys. But the difference is last year he struck out with injuries and just underperformers. This year he's hit.
yeah, and Gino's been playing great. Kirk Cousins is, the normal, middle of the pack Kirk Cousins kind of QB play. So he's been doing good. That's Carlos's number one in that the newly restructured divisions. The
He
guys
is.
are probably mad now that they're in the division with Carlos because he's kicking their ass. But we'll see how
He's
it ends.
actually he's actually second in the league behind Ryan. He's only 22 points behind Ryan for first.
Yeah. I got him by a point in the standings, but he, of course, has an extra win. So uh, that's where he and I will probably be battling over the next few weeks. But next game will be Winston and Reed. Winston, our birthday boy, and our lovable Mr. 300. What do you got?
All right, so I'm gonna start with Winston, the birthday boy. Winston, happy birthday! I'm just gonna get it out there now. I'm picking Winston in this matchup. I do like his running back room. I think he's got the strongest running back room in the league, even now without Josh Jacobs. Bijan Robinson's been underperforming, but he's still been solid. Now I am concerned about this week with the hamstring injury playing in the Thursday game. So we'll see how that turns out. But I think season long he'll be fine. Kyron Williams is doing Kyron Williams things. He's inefficient, but he's scoring touchdowns, and that's how you win games is by scoring touchdowns. Watch for Malik Neighbors. He knocked himself out last week with the concussion. But he's had the 3 extra days to get better. So we'll see if he's actually active or not. If he is, I think he has a really good game against Seattle, even though Seattle's a top defense. Um, he's got to get Kyle Pitts out of that lineup, though. He kind of looks like the fool for drafting Kyle Pitts 2 years in a row, and it just isn't working out. So maybe we'll see a waiver move for him. And then Reed's team, he's got the double quarterbacks on bye this week. A little bit of poor planning, I think, during the draft period, just on the quarterback bye week. I think that's the only time bye weeks matter. And his best running back, Jonathan Taylor, is a little banged up. Mild high ankle sprain. It's possible he may not miss any games, or it's possible he may miss 2 or 3 games. We'll have to see how the practice reports come out this week. And then he's got Devon Achane, but he's really missing Tua on that. He hasn't done anything since Tua's been injured. And then I just don't like the wide receiver room for him past Chris Godwin. Christian Kirk's been hit or miss all year. T. Higgins is starting to ramp up a little bit, but I still think it's going to be a tougher matchup going against Baltimore. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Winston.
yeah, Reed with the classic solo QB strategy, very bold. Uh,
Yeah.
of course, we're doing this. What's it, Tuesday night?
Tuesday night before waivers run.
We'll see some waivers run. I imagine he will drop Justin Herbert. Herbert hasn't really been anything to shout about so far this year, and they're really run dominant on that team nowadays anyway. So he's only thrown the ball like 20 times either way. Um, yeah, the Devon Achane situation and Jonathan Taylor situation is a little tough. We know Taylor has had ankle injuries in the past, so this is kind of something that plagues him. And
It's
then
also the same ankle that he had surgery on.
yeah, so that's a tough one to look at. Be on the lookout for Trey Sermon moving off the waiver wires. Who knows who's going to get him? Um, Devon Achane, I mean, that whole offense is nuked without Tua, which sucks because there's a lot of fantasy points to be had there with Waddle and Achane and
Or
Hill.
Jalen Waddle.
But yeah, but it's tough out there until probably week 8 or 9, whenever they get Tua back. Winston's side, of course, he made the trade to get Hurts because he's a homer. He needed it though as well. Quarterback play has been dreadful for him between
He's
Williams.
not going to get the fruits of that trade until next week, though.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the tough part too. Is you trade into the buy, so he'll have to gut it out again with Caleb Williams and Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones hasn't been too bad. Caleb Williams has, um, and of course we're like you said, we're watching Bijan this week. Soft tissue injuries are not good, especially on short weeks, and they have a capable Tyler Algier there as well. So they might not want to push him as hard on a short week, and Tyler Algier might get some extra work as well. And I know Brent didn't watch the Giants game, but Malik Neighbors is just absolutely insane at all times on a football field. He was either wide open, like 20 feet, like 20 yards away from anybody, or he was making crazy contested catches the whole time. He is really the best receiver out of that draft class. No offense to Maserati Marv, but yeah, it's definitely Malik Neighbors out of that draft class right now. I'm going to go with Winston as well. I think he's going to get a lot of pop from Kyron and Jordan Mason this week, and that's going to carry him to a win. Next game up, we got, well, Brent and Hooley. A classic matchup.
A classic, some would argue, the league favorite matchup.
I would say, yeah.
So I'm going to start with my team. So I'm closely watching the Anthony Richardson practice reports this week. It's unfortunate he's got probably second or third best matchup of the year, and he's coming in injured. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Kyler really let me down last week against a beatable Commanders defense. Now he's going up against that San Fran defense, which it's not as good as it has been in years past, but it's still a decent defense this year. So I'm a little concerned about the quarterback play. I just made the trade for Josh Jacobs. Happy about that. It's gonna, he's got a good matchup. But my running back 2 spot right now is hurting with Pollard on a bye week. So I'm really gonna have to see what I can manage there. Wide receiver room, Devontae Adams is questionable. Does he get traded? Does he not get traded? Does his magical hammy injury heal? Who knows? My fear right now, if Adams is Raiders don't trade him and he sits out for a couple weeks, and then I'm kind of screwed. And then in my flexes, I got JSN and Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir is banged up. He rolled his ankle. I came back out and played the rest of the game, but didn't look as effective. So we'll see what happens there. Cooley's team, he's got Brock Purdy going against the Cardinals. So that's a great matchup. He's projected 23 points. I think he exceeds that. And then James Conner, Najee Harris, those are just powerhouse running backs, just running up the middle, score touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb is probably going to have a good week, even though he's going up against Pittsburgh. I still think he's going for 2025. And then Stephon Diggs in the revenge game for the Bills. What is that? 2 revenge games in 3 weeks for him.
He's going.
So, Tank Dell's done nothing this year. Nico is, leading the league in wide receiver yards, but Diggs is right up there with him in terms of fantasy production. So I'm going to go with Hooley just based off of the better matchups and my lack of pop at my flex positions.
Yeah, I definitely like the matchups we got going on this week. This one's a good one, and there's always some outside shit talk about this specific matchup, but but it's all love. It's all love. Uli, it does have some good matchups this week as far as the Purdy matchup versus Arizona. Those are weird matchups when you get to the NFC West because you could have shootouts or it could be 9-6.
Yep.
Uh, that's always between those teams out there. They always play each other pretty tough. I don't think we're going to get too crazy of a Baker Mayfield game this week as we did last week. The short weeks, Thursdays are always kind of weird trap games as well. And I think,
Except next Winston in the first round with Derek Carr going off for the first time all year.
well, that, yeah. But I'm seeing a little bit of a slower game from Mayfield and even from Evans, who has kind of hobbled it a little bit as well. I could definitely see Najee Harris going off as well. I don't know, is Jalen Warren? He's still banged up.
Yeah, he's still out, and Cordero got hurt last week as well. So it's literally just going to be the Najee show.
Because I put Cordell Patterson on my dynasty team, that's why I got hurt. Like my entire
Yep.
team was dead. But I can see Najee still doing a lot of good work there against Dallas, and their defense has been a little suspect. On your side, of course, like I said, Kyler Murray could either be in a shootout or it could be, a 13-point game altogether. Charbonnet was still getting some work with Ken Walker still going up, so I can see you maybe moving around a little bit and playing with your spots in the next couple of days, like you
We'll
probably
see how the waivers break tonight before Sharp stays in there.
all about the waiver moves. I do see a good game from Josh Jacobs though against the Rams defense, and of course we'll see what Devontae Adams is doing over the next week or so. And I love JSN versus the Giants. I'm going to go ahead and go with Brent getting his first win on this one. 1-4, and 1-4 Loco will be the new team name. But we'll pull you out of that 0-5 hole and just get you on the board.
That'd be
Next,
nice.
yeah, that'll be it. Next up, Lou and Santi.
So we got the pie class matchup. Both of these guys kind of went quarterback early. You know, Santi did it last year, Lou did it this year. Lou's kind of hit with Lamar Jackson. You know, Josh Allen had his worst game of his career on Sunday night versus the Ravens. And that kind of contributed to Lou's loss to Winston. I don't see that happening again. I think this Bills Texans game is going to be a shootout, and Josh Allen will return to form. Um, I'm a little concerned about Lou's running backs. You know, James Cook, Kareem Hunt. We'll see how that plays out just as far as the volume work goes. You know, James Cook never really been a volume guy, but he's been efficient. And then Kareem Hunt could be in a 3, maybe even 4 running back committee once Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes back. We'll have to see how that plays out. I do like Chris Olave in this matchup versus the Chiefs. The stats haven't been there, the points haven't been there, but the underlying usage has been. You know, the air yards are up, the targets are up, targets per route runs really good. So I'm expecting a better game there. And then Deontay Johnson, as long as Andy Dalton's the quarterback, he's going to be viable. So you just kind of have to ride him out until Bryce Young comes back. And then Santi's team, Jordan Love going against the Rams. I think Love's going to have another really good game. And then Justin Fields has been surprising. You know, he hasn't been vintage Justin Fields dropping 40 points, 20 on the ground, but he's definitely been manageable. And then ETN, Santi still has Dobbins in his lineup right now. Is projected 0, which is weird. I guess my app is freaking out.
Yeah, a couple of buys there. So he's got
Oh
Dobbs.
yeah, he's on by. He's on by. So I'm expecting Santi to make a change there. Maybe going to the bench, throwing in. Oh gosh, Bucky Irving on the short week would probably be his best pickup. You know, he's got Tajay Spears on by too. The bye weeks are really going to start playing a factor. And this is actually one of the lower scoring games right now. It's projected 146, 137. 147 once you throw in Bucky on Santi's side. So I'm just going to go off the toss up. I think the better quarterback play is on Lou's side, so I'm going to take Lou.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, lose team goes by the way of Lamar and Josh. I think Cook's going to have a bounce back game for this one, and of course, Olave and Deontay Johnson are definitely viable options each week. I do, of course, I kind of like Santi's quarterback situation as well. Jordan Love, he's back and feeling healthier after the MCL sprain. He should be able to carve up the Rams defense. And then same thing for Fields. Dallas hasn't been fantastic on the defensive side like they were years ago. So I can see him doing a little bit more damage there as well. And he's getting more and more trust from Tomlin. I think Russell Wilson will find himself somewhere else in the next couple of weeks. Um, we do have some lower projections because of those bye weeks set in there. I was initially on the fence for this one and was going to go to Lou, but I'm actually going to switch my pick to Santi now. So I'm going to go with Santi this week. I think Justin Fields is going to have a vintage game versus the Dallas defense, and then I want to see 4 more touchdowns out of Jordan Love. So that's just I'm just going to talk that into existence now. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Santi on this one. Which
All right.
brings which brings us to our game of the week, and these two guys are classic competitors in the league. We got another 3-time champion with Ryan, and he loves it every time we bring him up in the pod. Ryan's pod is actually next week, so I'm interested to see how that goes. He's next one in line for the pod. So we got Ryan versus John. What do we think? That's our game of the week.
All right. So John really hit on the quarterbacks this year. Burrow got off to a slower start, but the last 2 weeks he's really picked it up. Jaden Daniels is actually, I think, on a points per game basis, the number one quarterback in the league. Is number two. Number two, so great pickup there. He's actually, I think, the highest projected quarterback though this week at 25 points. Brees Hall underperforming a little bit last week. I wonder if that was just factor of the rain game versus Denver. Ramondre Stevenson's been complete crap the last 2 weeks. He's fumbled. So off to a hot start when I played John, and then nothing since. Nico Collins, wide receiver one. I've got Nico in our dynasty league. I'm a big Nico believer, and I think that trend continues this week as well. Dalton Kincaid underperforming. Zach Moss has been a solid find for him. And later in the draft. Curious to see how that Bengals running back split continues. The first three weeks it was all Moss. Last week it was more 50-50, but I think that was more prescriptive of just playing the Panthers who can't tackle. And then looking at Ryan's team, he just demolished me last week off of the long touchdowns by Mahomes to Worthy, Dak to I think it was CeeDee Lamb, and who else had the long touchdown for him? Jamar Chase,
Another one, yeah.
60-yarder. So between those three scores, you're talking at 70 points for Ryan. So his team is predicated on big touchdown plays. I'm not sure if that's going to continue this week. So I'm actually going to switch my pick on this as well. I'm going to go with John just because of Jaden Daniels.
I was thinking for a second because initially, whenever we were talking about this before we started, I was going to go with John and Brent was going to go with Ryan. And
Yep.
I was wondering in my head, is Ryan going to put a trash can emoji on this one or a goat emoji on this one because we were going to be splitting the picks? But we'll have to see. For John's side, Jaden Daniels, number 2, Lamar Jackson is still our king of the running backs. But of course, the cheat code for quarterbacks in fantasy, if they're running, they're scoring you more points. That's how that works.
Anthony Richardson learned
Yes.
something.
Yep. He's after he got hurt, he ran another play where he did another draw or another RPO, and I was like, why are you doing this? And he got actually hurt after that.
He actually didn't get hurt from being hit. He got hurt from sliding because he was still in pain from being hit the last time.
I digress. John's side, Burrow's finding his stride, of course. And there's a lot of correlation this week between these two teams. Of course, there's Burrow, and then on the other side is Chase, and then there's Daniels, on the side is McLaurin. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth. If you get big plays, both teams are going to score high. So that's going to be a little bit of a neutralizing factor between the two of them. Nico Collins, I think, is the difference maker in this matchup. He's absolutely been on fire. And I think this is a get-right game for Dalton Kincaid versus Houston. I think that's going to be a shootout, like you had mentioned in the previous match. So he's going to get a lot of points there from Kincaid. And we're finally going to see a tight end breakout, at this point. I think
We've been waiting for it. I think the number one tight end has been, was it Taysom last week with 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, that's because he was running the ball, not catching the ball, which is crazy, but not even a real tight end. So that's the year the tight end hasn't gone so well. On Ryan's side, of course, Aaron Jones, who I miss every day of my life, in a Packers uniform, has been doing fantastic. The Packers should have kept him and Jacobs on the deals that they had and made the money for it, and we would have the best running back group in the league. But again, I digress. And then, like I said, there's going to be some matchup neutralizers in this one because of the QB wide receiver plays on either side. Mahomes, I could see, hasn't been doing fantastic. I don't know if he's going to take it up enough to really make too much of a difference on Monday night versus a stronger New Orleans Saints defense. Um, but he's going to have some big play from Travis Kelce. Like he's going to have to come back from the dead for this game in order for Patrick Mahomes to really start to get back to that Patrick Mahomes-esque kind of play. Um, in the spirit of competition, I'm going to go ahead and switch my pick over to Ryan. I want to see if he puts the trash can with the or the go post this week. Um, so let's take us through the whole picks there, Brent.
All right. So for Brent versus Hooley, you're going with me. I'm gonna go with Hooley. Carlos versus Josh. We've got Carlos on the sweep there. Birthday boy Winston versus Reed. We're going with Winston. Lou versus Santi. We had a little bit of a switch up. You're going with Santi. I'm taking Lou on this one. And then in our game of the week, we have Ryan versus John, where you're taking Ryan, and then I've got John.
I'm really just doing it as a social experiment at this point. I want to see what happens on the social media. But yeah, it's going to be a good week. Any last words for everybody, Brent? This may be your last words as an 0-4 man.
I, I hope I enter the winning column this week. If it doesn't happen, it's just another step closer to the 2017 repeat. So we'll see how that goes. To my league mates, I'm gonna keep texting you for trades each and every week. I love you all.
Please answer his trade conversations. He's got a lot to offer. Okay, guys. Yeah, good that we made the trade. Drafting and trading is probably the most fun in fantasy football that we can have. We've been jaded over the years with random trades that haven't gone other people's ways, and people get scared of it over the years. And we know each other's tendencies too much at this point, so it's a little bit tougher to trade after 11 years.
I went back through my trades for the league today, like all the way back from 2015, and there are some wild ones out there.
I want to see. I just want you to put together. Not you don't have to put together a big list, but I just want to see like your top three most egregious trades that we've made. Um, Hopefully, not all of them are out of the initial year where we were doing all of our collusion. Maybe like on the
That's the lost year where we don't have any data,
we'll have,
so it's
we know
almost like it happened.
we know it's just all collusion. Hooley's still a champion though. Winston will heavily refute that to this day. Um, but yeah, hope everybody has a good week. We have our esteemed other three-peat champion, or not three-peat champion. Sorry, that's just my title. Our three-time champion, Ryan, coming on for the pod next week. Can't wait for that. That's going to be a nice one. We'll see who he brings on, or if he just solos it from the corporate ladder business office upstairs. But hope you guys have a good week. Hope there are not any more injuries in the league this week. We don't need any more injuries on any more fantasy football teams. We need people to come back so we can actually get some scoring up throughout the league like we have had in the past. But that's it for us. We will see you in a couple of weeks. And hope you guys have a great night, great time. Have fun on the waivers. We'll see you next time. Peace.